All right, just the one story today. I'm borrowing this one from NBC2, who did a fantastic job of writing the story. Woman tased in the breast after spitting pizza chunks at Naples racetrack. That's the headline. 27-year-old Sarah Elizabeth Cochran sat at a table outside the racetrack gas station on Collier Boulevard in Naples. A pizza was on the table in front of her. Apparently aggravated about something, Cochran picked up pieces of pizza and threw them at the racetrack's door. Is that a critique of the food? A Collier County Sheriff's Office deputy filling his patrol car heard someone screaming as if an argument was about to begin. As the deputy approached the screaming, he found Crazy Cochran, who threw down more pizza and spit on the door. The deputy, rather confused, tried to understand what the world was going on. I asked Cochran multiple times what her problem was, and she seemed increasingly agitated for no apparent reason, the deputy wrote in his report. Cochran ignored him and ambled back to her table. She was making a mess of the business outside, so I determined it would be best for her to leave, and I told her to do so, the deputy wrote. Instead, she turned toward the deputy and looked him in the eye. Oh, it was a stare down. A mixture of gooey cheese, tomato sauce, pizza crust, and saliva came shooting out her mouth. The warm glob landed on the side of the deputy's face. Well, that was the final blow. When he attempted to take her into custody, Cochran tried to lunge away and resist, yelling voraciously. How does one yell voraciously? The deputy realized he needed help to corral Cochran, so he paused to grab his radio and call for backup. Well, she seized the opportunity and broke free of his hold, spun around, whacked him with a punch to the left side of his jaw, near where the glob of pizza spit had graced just moments earlier. The deputy grabbed his taser, activated it, and pointed it at her midsection. She turned to the right quickly, and the probe from the taser inadvertently hit her in the breasticle. The deputy admitted in his report the taser deployment was ineffective. According to the report, another probe was then fired. It missed her, but she threw off the remaining probe. After the confrontation, she tried to mount her bicycle to leave, but was stopped by a man behind her. The deputy approached Cochran from behind, wrapped his arms around her in a rear mount takedown, according to the report. The maneuver knocked both of them off their feet, face down, causing them to land on top of the bike. Another deputy then arrived, and Cochran was placed in handcuffs. Cochran sat up as the deputies called for an ambulance to check and see if she was hurt. Deputies discussed what was happened. I'm sure they were discussing it. As they waited for EMS, despite the fact Cochran was meticulously watched, she got up and began to run away. Noticing Cochran began her escape after all the scuffling, the deputies launched their own and ran after her. She plowed past the racetrack, through a parking lot, under a tree, until finally one deputy caught up and pushed her, causing her to fall to the ground. She was scraped in the chase and taken to Physicians Regional Hospital for treatment. Had to get herself a Band-Aid. She was then arrested and charged with 2 counts of battery on a law enforcement officer, resisting an officer with violence, resisting an officer without violence, and a good waste of pizza. A waste of good pizza. Yeah, not a fan apparently. That's your knucklehead. Yeah, I wouldn't say those are your knuckleheads, but I think that's all we need for today. Honey, how was your day? Oh, don't even get me started. Those are your knuckleheads. I'm exhausted reading it. You can find that story and more wherever you get social media. Search Mel and Scott in the morning.